there's been no decision on the substantive issue of the commencement and so on of the recounts. However, on the other issue that I reported on this morning, the motion by Commissioner Ben, he withdrew the motion this afternoon because it did not, like I said this morning, raise any novel issues. It had basically was a narration of the steps that were taken so far, so he withdrew that motion.
This is the motion asking for a recount?
Yes, because it is our contention that the decision for recount has already been taken. It is just to be implemented. And evidence of the decision for the recount is given by the fact that the Chief Election Officer had in fact invited stakeholders, including contesting political parties and the observer groups, to participate in the recount process. That is evidence of its own that the recount was decided upon and was in the process of being implemented.
So he withdrew the motion.
He withdrew the motion. However, Commissioner Alexander brought another motion this afternoon, which says that the results, the declarations of the Chief Election Officer should be presented to the Commission for consideration.
The report by the CEO?
The report by the CEO. That motion was voted against by the Commission, by a majority of 4 on the Commission. That motion was voted against.
Did the chairman have to vote?
Yes, she did. And she voted against the consideration of the declaration by the CEO to the Commission. And you see, let me put this in context. The CEO, the chairman has given, and this is to her credit, she has given on this morning and this afternoon detailed reasons for her position in relation to this matter, because she has given an undertaking to the court and she has narrated over and over the circumstances that led her to making that decision, and she has said that up to and including this afternoon when she voted against that motion for us to consider the declaration of the CEO.
But I'm asking if you believe that this afternoon's vote means that once and for all that his report will not be considered, or there's a chance that
I believe so. I believe so. I will go so far as to say so. It is out of the door.
Mr. Gunraj, has the Commission considered how the precautions being taken against the coronavirus would affect the operationalization of a possible recount?
It is something that, like you asked this morning about CARICOM, and I told you it is on my list of issues to raise. I have actually prepared some notes that of issues that I wish to raise. That is one of them. In fact, I have very detailed suggestions that I will bring to the Commission in relation to it. You see, I'm taking precautions myself, and I wish more people can take those precautions, including at the conduct of the recount. There are proposals that I have to make to this Commission in that regard.
One of the things that happened was Commissioner Corbin, who had earlier suggested we approach the court to get clarity in the way forward because of varying legal advices, which request was not acceded to by the Commission, has now himself asked for time to get that legal advice. And that time has been granted, and the Commission will convene at 10 in the morning, at which time he should render that advice. In the meantime, the CEO has been asked to start to address his mind to the question of the procedures that can be employed if we are to undertake a recount. And so that too should be reported on tomorrow. One other thing occurred. The question of whether we should not wait on the present legal proceedings before we proceed was brought by way of motion. And that motion was disposed of negatively with a 4-3 vote, so that we will not be waiting the present legal action before we proceed with what we are supposed to proceed.
Whose motion was that?
That motion was brought by me.
Okay, there currently is a motion, as you noticed, the one active motion is in relation to whether or not there should be a recount. When that motion comes within for a vote, will you vote yes or will you vote no?
What you said?
The motion that
Given the content of that motion, I will not vote for that motion. But I will certainly be disposed to voting for a motion for the recount.
what the content of those motions?
That motion content is contentious. It seeks in the rarest clauses
Would you vote yes for?
a continuation of the process started by CARICOM.
What is the crux of the motion you brought? Because we heard something different.
All right, let me be clear on this one. The crux of the motion was that there are legal proceedings and that we have in the past as a commission, the chairman in particular said that she would like to see legal proceedings out of the way before we proceed. So that was one basis of the motion. Indeed, and let me correct my previous answer, it did speak to the possibility of the declaration being made.
Are you in support of the CARICOM team returning to Guyana to help observe the recount process if there is one?
I think that would be a good way to go.
You get the impression,
The CARICOM team returning.
you get the impression based on today's meeting that the commission seems to be leaning more in the direction of a recount?
I would say yes.
So as we are right now, can a recount legally happen?
In my humble opinion, yes. In my humble opinion.
So today's motion really was reflective of a change of heart, given what was voted for unanimously last month for a recount. Would you say you had a change of heart?
We wanted the same point in the process.
What's the difference between the 2 points?
What's the difference? What's before us in terms of a report from the CEO now was not before us then. Fundamental difference.
And you believe the elections did not have any discrepancies that warrant a recount?
I have never ever commented on the question of discrepancies. I have not been in a position in terms of numbers to make a judgment on discrepancies. My judgment has been on process.